The sound of fist striking pads echoed through the humid parking lot of Whitmore Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Inside her car, Kiana Moore sat still, her hands resting on the steering wheel as she stared at the building. She wore a plain black hoodie and gray sweatpants, unremarkable by design chosen to avoid attention, though her presence would always draw it. Her deep brown eyes scanned the brick structure, watching the steady stream of mostly white men walk in and out. Her fingers traced the faint scar above her right eyebrow, a subtle reminder of everything she'd survived, events far worse than whatever waited for her inside. She took one slow breath, opened the door, and stepped out. As she entered the gym, the stench hit her immediately, a mix of sweat, disinfectant, and the raw testosterone that clung to the walls. Laughter and the pounding of bodies on mats grew louder as she approached the front desk, where a young man with cropped blonde hair scrolled through his phone. He didn't glance up, not at first. "I'm here to sign up," Kiana said, her voice calm and even. The man, Troy according to his name tag, finally looked up, his eyes scanning her with a flicker of disbelief, then barely concealed amusement. "You sure you're in the right place?" he said, smirking at someone behind her. "I'm sure." With a shrug, Troy handed her a clipboard. "Fill this out. Waivers on the back. Coach will decide if you're a good fit." Kiana took the form and moved to the side, ignoring the whispers she could already hear behind her. She filled out the basics. Name, address, emergency contact. When she got to that line, she hesitated, then wrote none. Returning the clipboard, she noticed Troy didn't even bother to glance at the info. First class is free. After that, it's membership or nothing. Kiana gave a silent nod and walked toward the mat area. As she entered, the energy in the room shifted. Conversations paused, movements slowed. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward her. She didn't flinch. She didn't smile. She simply stood. The mat was filled with men of varying builds and ranks. White. Belts, blue belts, a few purples. The moment she stepped in, someone called out from the back, "Lost, sweetheart?" Laughter followed. A large man with a beard and blue belt nudged his partner. Kiana said nothing. A thick-set man with a black belt tied around his wide waist stepped forward. His shaved head and cocky gait announced who he was before he spoke. "Coach Whitmore," she said, recognizing him from the Academy's website. He smiled, or rather curled his lips into something resembling amusement. "Well, new face. You ever trained before?" "Some," she replied vaguely. He looked back at his students and chuckled. "Some," he repeated. "We'll see what that means. We don't baby people here. This ain't your local cardio kickboxing class." Turning to his students, he raised his voice. "All right, boys, let's see what she's got." Warm-ups began abruptly, no explanation, just movement. Forward rolls, backward rolls, shrimping. Kiana mirrored the drills effortlessly, though too cleanly for a self-professed beginner. No one noticed, or no one cared. When it came time to partner up, no one moved toward her. Coach called out, "Troy, show our new friend the basics." Troy sighed dramatically, walked over and muttered, "Lucky me." The drill was simple. Guard passing. Troy began between her legs, his movements aggressive, shoving elbows where they didn't need to go. Kiana didn't protest. She adjusted, resisting, just enough to make him work. When it was her turn to pass, she executed with fluid grace, no wasted energy, no flash. Pure technique. Troy's eyes narrowed. He pushed harder. She responded with control. A few nearby pairs stopped to watch. "Beginner's luck," Troy grunted. The intensity of the class escalated. Burpees, bear crawls, live drills. Through it all, Kiana moved with quiet precision, never faltering. Midway through the session, the gym's energy shifted again. The door opened, and in walked a man without a GI, just board shorts and a tight rash guard that highlighted every sculpted muscle. The room straightened around him. Logan Bradley, local champion, gym pride. His image was on the walls, the website, the merch. He high-fived his way across the room. Then he saw her. Double take. "Yo, coach, you let her join, or is it bring your daughter to work day?" Laughter erupted. Coach smirked. "She says she's trained." Logan grinned wide. "Don't go easy on her. She might think this is real jiu-jitsu. What followed was not training. It was hazing, drills turned brutal. Kiana kept pace. Sweat drenched her hoodie, but her breath stayed measured. As the class ended, a thin kid with a white belt approached. "For your shoulder," he said, offering an ice pack. "Troy went way too hard. I'm Cody. You did good today," she nodded. "Thanks." They don't say that to people who look different. Kiana raised a brow. Cody flushed. "Not a bro, you know," she understood. Coach's voice rang out behind them. "Hey, princess, making friends with the newbie?" Logan stood there, smug as ever. Cody shrunk. Kiana didn't react. Later in the locker room, she passed by whispered conversations. "Bet she's gone in a week." Just another Insta girl. "Did you see her ass, though?" She said nothing. That night, in her apartment, she sat on the floor, opened a small wooden case and pulled out a weathered belt. Not jiu-jitsu. Military special insignia stitched in. Next to it, a photo. Her and her brother, both in desert gear, both wearing matching patches. "I'm not here to play," she whispered. 3 days later, she returned. The moment she stepped in, Troy looked up from the front desk with an eyebrow raised. "Back for more?" "Membership," Kiana replied. She handed over her card. The swipe beeped, and Troy's smirk faltered. Inside the mat room, the energy was less surprised now, more curious. Students whispered, glancing toward her as she wrapped her hands in black tape. Coach Whitmore entered, Logan trailing behind him like a shadow. Their eyes fell on her. Coach smiled tightly. "Ready to work today?" Kiana nodded. "Takedown drills." No partner again, until Coach barked, "Rocco, help her out." Rocco was built like a wall and moved like a truck. He grinned. "I'll be gentle." They slapped hands. Rocco charged. He slammed her with a double-leg tackle. Kiana absorbed the hit, rolled, and stood. No complaint. Just reset. Next round, she sprawled. "Perfectly," Rocco grunted. When her turn came to shoot, she caught him with a clean single leg. He used brute force to throw her down. "That's not technique," she muttered. It worked, didn't it? On the ground, they moved to submissions. Coach demonstrated an armbar. "Control is key. We're not snapping arms. Tap early." Rocco grinned. When it was his turn, he cranked the armbar too fast. Kiana didn't tap. She twisted, escaped. The movement should have been impossible. Shock flickered in Rocco's face. They reset. She applied the same armbar with clean, safe technique. He tapped. They repeated it 3 more times. Rocco grew more aggressive. She stayed calm. During a break, Logan whispered something to Coach. The next round, Coach announced, "Logan will. A demo live rolls." Logan showed off, choreographed moves against a purple belt. The class clapped. Then Coach called her up. "Show the new girl what a real roll feels like." Logan smirked. "My pleasure." The mat felt colder under her bare feet now, not from temperature but tension. As Kiana stepped into the circle, Logan bounced lightly on the balls of his feet, his expression smug and predatory. A crowd of students slowly formed around them, eager for a show. Phones discreetly rose. Even Coach Whitmore leaned forward, arms folded across his chest, eyes glinting with anticipation. "Shake hands," the coach said flatly. Logan extended his hand with exaggerated courtesy, the corners of his mouth twitching with mock kindness. Kiana met it with a firm, emotionless grip. The second their palms released, Logan charged. He moved with force, not finesse. A double-leg takedown attempt came barreling forward, sloppy with overconfidence. Kiana didn't retreat. Instead, she sprawled, her hips dropping with surgical precision onto his shoulders, stopping his momentum cold. Gasps rippled through the room. She slid to his side, grabbed wrist control, and began threading her limbs into position. Logan, surprised, bucked violently, but Kiana had already cinched in a triangle choke. Tension, silence. Then, tap, 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 Logan's hand pounded against her leg. She released instantly. 14 seconds. The room stood still. Coach's jaw visibly clenched. "Rematch," Logan barked. Breathless. "I wasn't ready." "You said she wouldn't last 10 seconds, someone whispered. Coach cleared his throat. "Fine, go again." They reset. Logan looked different now, focused, angry. Begin. He moved more cautiously this time, circling, trying to bait her. Kiana matched him step for step. He shot in low again, this time for a single leg. She let him catch her foot, then twisted, used his own grip to pull herself around and into guard. Her legs wrapped around his torso before he even realized it. She shifted her hips, underhooked an arm, rolled, and transitioned into a textbook armbar. Logan tapped. Again, 11 seconds. Someone let out a slow, disbelieving whistle. Logan rolled away, face red with rage and humiliation. He shoved the mat. With both hands, stood up and paced in a circle. Coach Whitmore's expression hardened. "You cheated," Logan spat. Kiana wiped sweat from her forehead. "You were just loud." Laughter bubbled around the room. Despite the tension, the whispering started before class ended. As Kiana gathered her things, she heard fragments. 2 taps in under 30 seconds. Who is she? That's not beginner skill. Later that evening, Cody caught up with her in the parking lot. "You broke him," he said with awe. "Like, snapped his ego in half." Kiana shrugged. "He gave it to me." "You should see the posts already going up. People recorded it. You're gonna blow up." Kiana paused. "I didn't ask to go viral." "Maybe not," Cody said, "but they'll remember you now." That night, alone in her apartment, Kiana sat on the floor with her old military belt laid across her lap. Her fingertips ran along the patch sewn into the fabric. Spectre, a name not many knew and fewer were allowed to say aloud. Her phone buzzed. A private message request, unknown. "Nice work today. Some ghosts stay buried, some rise. Which one are you?" She stared at the screen, blocked the number, went back to wrapping her hands. The next morning, she returned early, before the gym officially opened. Rachel Whitmore was already there, tying her belt. She offered a curt nod. "You don't move like a new student," Rachel said. Kiana said nothing. Rachel tossed her a bottle of water. "They're not going to like what happened yesterday. Especially Coach, you embarrassed his champion." "I didn't mean to," Kiana replied, "but I don't regret it." "Good," Rachel said, "because Logan's not done." By midweek, the video had spread beyond the gym. Martial arts forums dissected the fight frame by frame. Some called it staged. Others insisted she had professional training. Speculation flared. She's ex-military. That's Black Ops level movement. Nobody transitions like that unless they've killed before. Comments poured in, and among them one name kept appearing. Spectre, a myth in combat circles, a ghost, a phantom from war zones, an elite operative supposedly KIA 5 years ago. Kiana's photo now sat beside that codename. Thursday night, Coach Whitmore posted an update on the gym's private social feed. Challenge night. Friday, no rules, submission only, Bradley versus Moore. Winner stays. The comments exploded. Kiana didn't respond. She didn't need to. Instead, she trained at 5 a.m. alone. She drilled sweeps, submissions, transitions. Muscle memory took over. Her mind cleared. Her breath synced with every movement. This wasn't about winning. This was about control. By the time the sun rose, her gear was soaked in sweat and her eyes were clear. She was ready. Friday night. The gym was packed wall to wall. Phones out, live streams running, posters on the wall. 14 seconds. Lucky or legend? Coach Whitmore walked center mat, proud, theatrical. "Tonight," he declared, "we settle the score." Logan stepped out, chest puffed, wearing a custom rash guard that said, "Queen Slayer." Kiana entered silently, dressed in plain black, hair tied tight, eyes focused. They squared off. Whitmore called it. "1 round. No time limit. Submission only. Let's see who belongs." "Begin." Logan exploded forward, looking to overwhelm early. Kiana slipped to the side, countering with minimal movement. He tried again. Another aggressive takedown. Attempt. She sprawled and reversed, landing on his back before he could reset. He rolled violently, trying to shake her. She flowed with him, never losing position. He grabbed her wrist, trying to force her off, but she used the grip to trap his arm, shifting her hips into position. Triangle. Again. He twisted, panicked. She adjusted. Tap. 8 seconds. The room erupted, Some in cheers, some in disbelief. Logan stormed off the mat. Coach Whitmore froze, then turned. "Enough," he said. "That's it. Get out." "To her?" someone asked. "No," Coach growled. "To him." The silence that followed Logan's ejection from the gym was eerie. No one moved. Coach Whitmore's words had struck harder than Logan's failed takedown attempts. For the first time, the invincible aura that surrounded Whitmore's authority began to flicker. Logan's heavy footsteps echoed down the hall as he left the mat room, rage radiating off him. Some of the students exchanged glances, others turned their eyes toward Kiana, standing alone on the mat, still breathing steadily, barely winded. Her poise remained unshaken, as if she'd expected this outcome from the beginning. Kiana didn't gloat. She didn't even look up. She bowed slightly to the center of the mat, stepped off, and grabbed her bag. Her movements were quiet, measured. There was no victory dance, she didn't need one. Behind her, whispers exploded. She beat him again. 8 seconds, 3 times, not a fluke. Coach turned to the group. Back to drills. But the air had shifted. The students weren't focused, not the way they used to be. Something fundamental had changed. The aura of invincibility that had protected Logan, and by extension Coach Whitmore's toxic legacy, had shattered. Cody caught up with her in the parking lot. "It's online already," he said breathlessly. "I posted it, edited, both matches." The crowd reactions. Even Coach's face when you ended it. Kiana turned slowly. "You recorded it?" "From 2 angles. The GoPro was hidden in the bag, and I got backup on my phone. High def. I also synced the time clock, full timestamps. No edits, no speed-ups." She stared at him. "You planned this?" "I knew they'd try to twist it, so I made sure they couldn't." Kiana gave a single nod. "Then post it everywhere." By dawn, the video had 80,000 views. By noon, 400,000. By nightfall, it crossed 1 million. Blogs picked it up. Martial arts forums debated her technique in slow-motion breakdowns. Reaction channels exploded. Mainstream outlets took notice. Who is she? This woman just broke the internet. Logan Bradley got dismantled. Twice. Confirmed. That's Spectre. Reddit threads ballooned with speculation. Martial arts veterans chimed in. One claimed he'd seen a woman with her exact build and movement style in a covert Marine training camp in 2017. Another said he sparred with a ghost once in Syria. "I swear it was her." Kiana declined all interviews. She wasn't here to be famous. She was here to get answers. The following day, Rachel found her sitting alone in the far corner of the mat space, stretching in silence. "Heard you made Coach retreat," she said casually. Kiana didn't smile. "He's not done, just regrouping." Rachel crouched beside her. "I overheard him last night, on the phone, someone named Avery." Kiana froze. Rachel noticed. He said something about how Avery wants her quiet again, and that this exposure put the whole thing at risk. Kiana's breath slowed. She knew that name, Colonel Marcus Avery, the one who'd overseen Project Emberlight, the one who'd orchestrated her brother's death, or his disappearance. Rachel leaned in. He also said they needed to remove evidence, data drives, cameras, even payment records. "He's scrubbing the gym." Kiana stood, fire in her eyes. "Then we collect before he does." That night, with Cody and Rachel's help, she broke into the gym's back office, not to damage, just to copy. Cody brought a burner laptop and a thumb drive. They cloned hard drives, extracted emails, grabbed backup tapes. Cody worked quickly, silently, eyes darting nervously every time the wind rustled the door. Rachel stood lookout by the emergency exit. One file caught Kiana's eye, labeled EMB Tactical Spectre OBS Log. She opened it, a timeline, surveillance logs, mission debrief notes, photographs, her brother, even Griggs. She copied it all. Then, as they were leaving, they saw her file transfer underway on the main server to an external location. Encrypted, they couldn't stop it, but they could trace it. Back at her apartment, hours later, Kiana stared at the screen. The IP destination pinged through a VPN located in Jordan, encrypted, but familiar. She narrowed her eyes. She'd seen that encryption before. Emberlight used it in field deployments. Only their handlers had the authority to use those keys. Her fingers hovered over the keys. Then a knock at the door. She reached for her sidearm, hidden under the table. "It's me," Cody's voice said. She opened the door. He was pale. He handed her a small envelope. It was taped to my car. Inside, a photo. Her brother, wearing civilian clothes, stepping into a compound. Time-stamped, location blurred, but recent, and a note. "You want him back? Come alone. Bring the drive. No backup. 72 hours. Or he disappears again." She called Griggs. They met again, this time in a shuttered gas station off a rural highway. Griggs looked as if he hadn't slept. "They're luring you in," he said, eyes dark. "This is the trap they've been setting." "Then let's spring it," Griggs exhaled slowly. "You're not the only one they burned. There are others. Former Emberlight agents, operatives who were used and discarded. You're the fire that brought them out." Kiana said nothing. Griggs slid a flash drive across the table. "This is everything I've kept. Records, names, operations Avery buried." "Why give it to me now?" "Because you're not running anymore, and because I think you're the one who can end this." Kiana pocketed the drive. "They don't get to own us anymore." The gym was closed the next morning. Official sign, renovations, unofficial. Word, coach was gone, left town, vanished overnight. Rachel found a withdrawal slip in the desk drawer, $82,000 cash. Final transaction. Rachel took over the schedule. Cody kept training. Kiana trained in silence, preparing. Every drill, every breath, every repetition was intentional, controlled, deadly. She had 48 hours left, and she knew exactly how she was going to use them. The desert wind was dry and biting as Kiana, Rachel, and Cody pulled off the main road into a long abandoned access lane, surrounded by scrub brush and broken asphalt. The sun was beginning to rise, casting harsh golden light across the sparse terrain. Ahead stood their target, a decommissioned military facility whose layout matched the satellite image from the anonymous email. This was the site where Kiana's brother had last been seen. And if Colonel Avery was watching, he'd be expecting her. Kiana stepped out of the SUV, scanning the area with practiced eyes. The silence here wasn't natural, too still, too calculated. Rachel joined her, clutching a map of the compound. Cody opened his laptop and began setting up a mesh VPN relay to scramble their signal. "This place was never abandoned," Kiana muttered. "They just erased the records." Cody looked up. "I'm picking up active pings from thermal sensors. We're already inside a net." Rachel asked, "So what's the plan if they close in?" Kiana didn't answer immediately. She pulled her vest tighter and loaded a fresh mag into her sidearm. "We move like ghosts, just like they taught us." They entered the compound through a side ventilation tunnel that Kiana remembered from a facility blueprint Griggs had decrypted. Inside, the corridor smelled of old concrete and copper wiring. Emergency. Lights flickered in patches. Surveillance cameras hung from corners like watching insects. Kiana led them downward, into the substructure where intel suggested high-value targets were moved. Her breath was steady, but inside, her pulse was hammering. Every step brought memories. Some trained, others buried. A door ahead hissed open. A figure emerged. A man in tactical black stepped into the hallway. He was armed but not surprised. "Spectre," he said, almost admiringly. "Colonel said you might actually come." "Where is he?" Kiana asked. "You'll see him soon enough." He raised a hand to his earpiece. "Wrong move." Kiana struck. A blur of motion. Gun. Down, palm up, throat hit, twist, slam. He crumpled. Rachel blinked. "I thought you said we were ghosts." "We are," Kiana replied. That was a whisper. They pushed deeper. One room was lined with metal lockers and black bags marked with Special Forces insignias from countries that officially had no presence here. Kiana grabbed one. Inside were comms units and a digital map reader. It displayed 3 dots, one of them marked Asset 07. "That's him," Kiana said. Her brother, Cody, tapped the device. "Signals moving, they're relocating him, they knew we were coming." Kiana's eyes narrowed. Then let's make them regret it. The ambush came near the central junction. 2 soldiers blocked their path from the front. A third flanked them. Rachel fired first, clean shot low and center. Cody ducked behind a column. Kiana charged into the middle of the chaos, disarming one and snapping his arm at the elbow. Then the hallway filled with gas. "Go!" Kiana shouted, shoving Rachel and Cody into the side door. They sealed it shut as alarms blared. Lights turned red. "They're locking down the sector," Cody coughed. "We've got about 6 minutes before they cut power and filter us out." "Then we split," Kiana decided. "I'll get my brother. You two get out and get this intel to Griggs." Rachel grabbed her arm. "You're walking into a trap." "I was born in one," Kiana said softly. She moved alone deeper into the compound. The air was dense with warning sirens. Hallways shifted to older steel construction, the bones of the facility. She moved silently, disabling sensors as she went. Finally, she reached it. A single holding room. Heavy door, manual lock. 2 guards. Kiana waited. Timed their steps, then exploded into motion. She dropped the first with a sweep and pressure to the carotid. The second turned, too slow. She crushed his trachea with her elbow, caught his rifle before it fell. Inside was a man, shackled to the wall, his head bowed. "Jace," she whispered. He looked up, eyes hollow at first. Then recognition. "Kiana?" She ran to him, unlocked the cuffs, helped him stand. "They said you were dead," he rasped. "They said the same about you. We're both too stubborn." He laughed, weak but real. Then the lights cut out. Meanwhile, Rachel and Cody reached the exit point, but the tunnel was blocked. A jeep roared in behind them. Soldiers dismounted. Cody tossed a smoke grenade. Rachel fired and moved, dragging him through a backup service crawl. Their lungs burned. But they got out, and the intel drive, still intact. Back inside, Kiana and Jace fought their way upward, room by room. She moved like death, fluid, calm, relentless. Jace, though weak, managed to recover a sidearm. They reached the surface. The exit was in sight. Then he appeared. Colonel Avery, gray hair, black uniform, calm smile. "Spectre," he said, drawing a pistol. "You really do live up to the myth." Kiana stepped in front of her brother. "You're done," she said. "I have the files. The video, everything." Avery's smile widened. "And you think the truth still matters?" He raised his gun, but another shot rang out. Griggs. From the ridge, Avery dropped. Later that night, as helicopters took them out of the desert, Kiana held her brother's hand. "This isn't over," Jace whispered. "No," Kiana said. "It's just the beginning." The next few weeks blurred into a storm of fallout, secrecy, and recalibration. The world knew Kiana Moore as the woman who dismantled Logan Bradley on a gym mat, but those who mattered, those who watched from the shadows, now remembered her. By another name, Spectre. After the desert extraction, Kiana, Jace, Rachel, and Cody were relocated to a secure safe house under Griggs's network. Though the location changed every few days, the purpose did not: rest, regroup, and plan. The hard drive Kiana had retrieved, along with Griggs' files, contained enough blackmail material to bring down every splinter cell tied to Project Emberlight. But the government didn't want that. They wanted control. Multiple agencies sent, feelers through back channels, offers, threats disguised as diplomacy. Griggs warned them, "This isn't about justice anymore, it's about leverage." Kiana kept the drive offline, printed everything, then encrypted it again. Trust was a luxury, but now she had something stronger: proof. In the days that followed, Kiana developed a system. Wake up before dawn, train with Jace, review intel, journal details, study surveillance logs, military movements, anything that might point to other operatives still caught in the shadows of Emberlight's reach. Every night, she would sit across from Griggs, who pieced together a map, a web of operations, names, call signs, and hidden accounts. Slowly, the network that once hunted her began to expose its own veins. Jace was quieter than before. Years of conditioning and trauma had reshaped the brother she remembered. But sometimes, when they trained, she saw flickers of the man he used to be. One night as they sparred, he said, "They broke me, Kiana, but watching you come back, You put me back together. She looked at him, eyes sharp, movements fluid. Then let's finish this together. Meanwhile, Rachel returned to Mat 14, finding the gym transformed. Students from all walks, women, minorities, even former dropouts, had returned. Kiana's story had become a rallying cry. Rachel repainted the walls, replaced the old toxic slogans with 3 words: skill, respect, community. She created a scholarship fund for underserved youth and partnered with trauma counselors. The new Mat 14 wasn't just a gym anymore. It was a haven, a space where the next generation of warriors could be nurtured without fear. Cody became the go-to instructor for kids and newcomers. With his tech background and survivor's empathy, he rewrote the entire beginner's curriculum. What started as a recovery arc had turned into a purpose. He even started a podcast, The Spectre Signal, where he anonymously shared insights on resilience, corruption, and rebuilding strength from the inside. Kiana and Jace didn't rest. They trained. Jace's body had been broken by captivity, but his mind was sharp. As he regained strength, he told her everything: how Avery faked his death to secure an operative off books, how he was used for covert hits no one wanted traced, and how he always suspected they'd come for her eventually. "They made me watch the day they scrubbed your record," he said. "They said if I cooperated, you'd stay safe." "They lied," Kiana answered, "and you burned it all to the ground." Mid-month, Griggs arranged a backdoor deal. The footage from the gym combined with the Emberlight files had rattled high places. To prevent a full public scandal, several senior intelligence figures agreed to a classified tribunal against Colonel Avery's network. They wanted Kiana to testify. She refused. "I don't trust courtrooms," she said. "I trust results." Instead, she released a heavily redacted version of the documents, just enough to alert journalists, military watchdogs, and human rights groups that something had happened. Enough to draw heat away from her team. Avery's name disappeared from public records days later, but the signal was sent. You can't bury Spectre. 6 weeks later, Kiana returned to Mat 14. Word had leaked she'd be there. The mat was full. Students stood in respectful silence as she stepped into the center, wearing no belt, just a plain black jai. Rachel greeted her with a hug. "I thought you disappeared." "I had to," Kiana said. "But not anymore." She faced the class. "I didn't come here to teach," she began. "I came here because I was tired of running, tired of being erased. But I learned something in this room. Respect doesn't come from titles. It comes from showing up, from standing your ground, from protecting the person next to you, even when it costs you." She paused. "You don't have to be a ghost to be powerful. You just have to refuse to disappear." Applause erupted. That night, Kiana sat alone in the corner of the mat room. Jace sat beside her, both silent. He handed her an envelope. Inside, a photo of their unit from years ago, faces young, eyes bright, unaware of the betrayals to come. "What now?" he asked. Kiana looked toward the door. "We build something better. We train the next Spectres, not to vanish, but to fight back." Outside, the city buzzed. But inside, in that circle of sweat and memory, a new chapter had begun. Spectre had risen, and this time, she wasn't alone.